Relationships are meant to build you, not break you. But sometimes the red flags don't come waving, they come hidden in words. The problem is, once you start excusing those words, you start excusing the behavior. And by the time you realize, you're stuck in a cycle that slowly destroys your confidence, your happiness, and your self-worth. Today, let's talk about the exact words a man can say that should make you walk away immediately, not tomorrow, not next week, immediately. If a man says these words to you, leave. No arguing, no second chances, no waiting for him to change, because words reveal mindset and mindset drives behavior. First, you're too sensitive. That's not sensitivity, that's awareness. He's trying to make you doubt yourself so he doesn't have to own his behavior. That's manipulation. Second, you don't need them, you only need me. That's isolation. And isolation is the number one tactic of control. When you give up your friends, your family, your support system, you hand him all the power. Third, you can't do that. That's not a partner speaking. That's a warden. Love supports, it doesn't restrict. Fourth, if you leave me, you'll regret it. Threats aren't love. Threats are control. And when someone shows you control, they're showing you fear of losing their grip on you. Fifth, you're lucky I'm with you. No, real love says, I'm grateful to have you. The moment someone flips that script, they're telling you you're beneath them. And that's not a partnership, it's hierarchy. Sixth, I'll love you if you change. That's conditional. And conditional love isn't love, it's a contract built on control. Here's the truth: people show you who they are by what they say when they're comfortable. And if he's comfortable speaking like this, he'll be comfortable treating you worse. So when you hear these words, don't explain them away. Don't justify them. Don't wait for a better version of him. Walk away. Because the moment you tolerate disrespect, you've taught him how to treat you. It often starts small. A little joke here, a sarcastic comment there, and you brush it off because you don't want to seem uptight. You laugh along, even though something inside of you sinks a little. Maybe he teases you about the way you look when you're not dressed up, or he makes a joke about your intelligence in front of other people. And when you react, when you show that it hurts, his response is quick and dismissive. Relax, I'm just joking. Don't be so sensitive. That's not a joke. That's disrespect dressed up as humor. The truth is, a joke should make you laugh, not question your worth. But people who hide behind, just kidding, know exactly what they're doing. It's a safe mask. It allows them to deliver the insult, cut you down, and then flip it back on you if you call it out. Suddenly, you're the one who can't take a joke, and they're the playful partner who's just being funny. The damage of this runs deeper than a single moment. Over time, you start second-guessing yourself. You wonder if maybe you really are too sensitive. You start laughing along to things that actually hurt, because it feels easier than defending yourself every time. You shrink a little because it's exhausting to explain over and over that words matter, and he knows this. He learns that he can disrespect you in plain sight, and you'll either excuse it or stay silent. That's how subtle control begins. It's not loud, it's not violent, it's slow, steady erosion of your self-confidence. Think about if someone truly values you, why would they use humor as a weapon? Why would they take the things you might feel insecure about and turn them into punchlines? Why would they risk embarrassing you just to get a laugh out of others? That's not playfulness, it's power. Because while everyone else laughs, you're left standing there smiling on the outside but burning on the inside. And the more this repeats, the more normalized it becomes. Disrespect wrapped in a smile is still disrespect. And words, even when dressed up as jokes, are still shaping how you see yourself and how you allow others to treat you. Control doesn't always come in the form of raised voices or outright commands. Sometimes it shows up in subtle phrases that sound protective on the surface but are actually about power. When he says, "You can't do that," or "I decide what's best for you," what he's really saying is that your choices, your independence, and your ability to think for yourself don't matter as much as his authority. And at first, it might not seem like a big deal. Maybe it's about what you wear, where you go, or who you spend time with. He might even frame it as caring, "I just don't think that's good for you," or "Trust me, I know what's right." But that's the mask. That's how control gets disguised as love. Because when someone truly loves you, they support your choices, even if they don't always agree. They don't strip you of your agency and replace it with their own. Over time, those small restrictions pile up. One day it's about not wearing something he doesn't approve of. Another day it's about not hanging out with a certain friend. Then it's about your career, your ambitions, your goals. It creeps in quietly until you look back and realize you've been living a version of life that isn't yours. Every decision you make runs through the filter of whether he will approve or not. And when you resist, when you try to assert your independence, the pushback is immediate. He'll say you're being defiant, that you don't care about his opinion, that you're making mistakes he could have prevented. The cycle is designed to weaken you, to make you doubt your ability to make sound decisions without his guidance. What makes this dangerous is how easy it is to confuse control with protection. At first, It can feel flattering. Someone cares enough to want to guide you, to look out for you. But guidance and control are not the same thing. Guidance gives you information, support, and encouragement to decide for yourself. Control removes your right to choose. And the moment his words shift from, I support you, to, I decide for you, that's not love speaking, that's possession. Because real partnership is built on equality, not hierarchy. When his voice becomes louder than your own in decisions about your life, you've been pushed into a position where his authority defines your freedom. One of the clearest signs of manipulation is when someone begins to separate you from the people who care about you. It doesn't always come in the form of an obvious command to stop seeing your friends or cut ties with your family. More often, it begins with simple phrases like, you don't need them, you only need me. At first, those words might even sound romantic. They might make you feel chosen, like you are the center of his world. But beneath that surface, there's a much darker purpose. Because when someone tells you that you don't need anyone else, what they are really doing is attempting to isolate you, to cut off the connections that keep you strong, supported, and balanced. Isolation is never about love, it's about control. It usually starts slowly. He might complain about how much time you spend with your family, or make comments about how your friends are a bad influence. He might say that your loved ones don't really understand you the way he does, planting seeds of doubt about the people who've known you for years. Before long, you might start canceling plans, making excuses, or spending less time with the people you love because you don't want the conflict. And he frames it as a good thing, saying, we don't need anyone else, we're enough for each other. But what's really happening is that your circle of support is shrinking. The voices that could warn you, that could remind you of your worth, that could help you see the situation clearly, those voices are being silenced. The more isolated you become, the more dependent you are on him for validation, for companionship, for decision-making. Without realizing it, you start to lean on him for everything because he has successfully positioned himself as the only person you can rely on. And in that place, he has the ultimate power because he knows you've cut ties with the people who could hold him accountable. That's why isolation is one of the strongest tools of manipulation. When you are alone, when your connections are stripped away, you are easier to control, easier to silence, easier to keep in place. The sentence, you don't need anyone but me, might sound like devotion, but it's actually a warning sign that someone is trying to erase your support system and make themselves the center of your entire world. Gaslighting is one of the most damaging forms of emotional manipulation because it doesn't just attack what you feel in the moment, it attacks your trust in yourself. When he says things like, you're overreacting, or you're too sensitive, it might seem harmless at first. Maybe it sounds like he's just brushing off an argument or trying to calm you down. But the real impact of those words runs much deeper. They are designed to make you question whether your emotions are valid, whether your perception of reality can be trusted, and whether your instincts are reliable. Over time, this kind of language chips away at your ability to stand firm in your feelings, because every time you try to express hurt or frustration, it gets twisted into a flaw within you. The danger lies in the repetition. The first time you hear it, you might push back, insisting that what you felt was real. But the second or third time, you start to hesitate before speaking up. You begin to wonder if maybe you are exaggerating, maybe you are too emotional, maybe you're expecting too much. That hesitation is the first crack. Slowly, the confidence you once had in your own judgment weakens because every emotional response gets labeled as dramatic, irrational, or overly sensitive. And once that cycle takes hold, it becomes harder to distinguish between what's genuinely wrong in the relationship and what you've been convinced is just you overreacting. This is exactly why gaslighting is so effective as a control tactic. If he can make you doubt your reality, he doesn't need to argue the facts. He doesn't need to take responsibility for his behavior. He only needs to convince you that the problem is in the way you see it, not in what actually happened. That shift in perspective gives him freedom to repeat the same behavior again, knowing you'll either question yourself or minimize the issue. What makes it even more insidious is that gaslighting often comes disguised as concern. He might say, I'm just trying to help you calm down, or I didn't mean it that way, you're reading too much into it. These phrases sound gentle, but the underlying message is the same. You can't trust what you feel. You can't trust what you heard. You can't trust your own reaction. And when you can't trust yourself, you become easier to control, easier to silence, and easier to manipulate. When someone says, if you leave me, you'll regret it, that isn't love speaking. It's fear and control wrapped into a threat. Those words are designed to trap you, to make you second-guess your freedom, and to paint the idea of leaving as something dangerous or foolish. Instead of giving you reassurance or showing you why the relationship is worth staying in, he chooses to use intimidation. At first, it may not even sound like a direct threat. It might be delivered quietly, almost casually, as if he's just warning you for your own good. But the weight of those words lingers because they're meant to plant fear in your mind, fear of consequences, fear of being alone, Fear that stepping away will lead to pain. This type of language reveals a mindset that sees you not as a partner, but as property. A healthy relationship thrives on mutual respect and the understanding that either person can walk away if the bond no longer serves them. But when someone threatens you for even considering leaving, what they're saying is that your autonomy doesn't exist, that your ability to choose is a problem they need to eliminate. It's about power, not connection. The underlying message is clear. You're not free to make decisions without expecting punishment. The danger of this phrase is how it can erode your courage over time. You might stay longer than you should, replaying those words in your head, wondering what kind of regret he meant. Maybe you fear he'll lash out, maybe you fear he'll try to ruin your reputation, or maybe you fear he'll convince others that you're the one in the wrong. That uncertainty is part of the trap. It keeps you guessing, keeps you stuck, keeps you quiet. Even if the threat is vague, the unease it creates is powerful enough to influence your choices. And often, these threats escalate. Today, it's, you'll regret it. Tomorrow, it could become sharper, more direct, more dangerous. The pattern is meant to make you believe that leaving isn't an option, that the safest choice is staying, even if staying means sacrificing your peace and your self-worth. When a person relies on threats instead of love, what they're showing is not devotion but desperation to maintain control, and that desperation can become the cage that holds you in place long after the relationship has already lost any sense of safety or respect. When he says, "You're lucky I'm with you," it may sound like a simple statement, but hidden inside those words is a very clear attempt to reduce your value and elevate his. It's not a compliment. It's not a playful remark. It's a declaration meant to place him above you. What he's really saying is that you should be grateful he chose you, that you wouldn't be able to find someone better, and that somehow you're not enough on your own. Over time, if you hear this repeatedly, it starts to work its way into your mind. You begin to question your worth, and instead of feeling like an equal in the relationship, you begin to feel like you're in debt to him for staying. Belittling in this way is subtle but deeply damaging. Love is supposed to create a sense of partnership, a bond where both people feel chosen, respected, and valued. But when one person constantly frames themselves as the prize and the other as the lucky recipient, it creates an imbalance. That imbalance shifts the power in the relationship. You stop asking if he deserves you, and instead you start asking yourself if you're good enough for him. It's a shift that keeps you small, keeps you compliant, and keeps you from demanding the respect you truly deserve. What makes this tactic so dangerous is that it's often layered with comparisons. He might say things like, "No one else would put up with you," or "You should see how other women wish they had someone like me." Statements like these don't just minimize you, they inflate his ego at the same time, creating a dynamic where you feel constantly reminded that he believes he is above you. And when you believe you're beneath someone, you're more likely to tolerate behavior you would never accept otherwise. You start to hold on tighter, afraid that losing him means you'll never find another relationship, because he's convinced you that you're the one who should be thankful, not him. That's the real power in belittling your worth. It doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be constant, it only has to be consistent enough to change the way you see yourself. Slowly, you forget your own strengths, your own beauty, your own individuality. His words become a mirror that reflects back a smaller version of you, one that feels undeserving of real love, and once you start believing that reflection, it becomes harder to see yourself clearly. When someone tells you, "I'll love you if you change," what they are really saying is that who you are right now isn't enough for them. It's not an invitation to grow together, it's a demand to reshape yourself into a version that suits their preferences. At first, you might not see the harm. Maybe you think, everyone has flaws, maybe he just wants me to be better. But there's a difference between supporting your growth and holding love hostage until you bend yourself into something else. Real love doesn't wait for conditions to be met. It accepts you as you are while encouraging you to thrive. Conditional love sets rules that constantly move, leaving you chasing approval that never feels permanent. This phrase often shows up in different forms. It can sound like, "I'll be more affectionate if you lose weight," or "I'll take this relationship seriously if you stop doing that." Each version communicates the same thing: your worth depends on compliance. The danger is that you start tying your value to meeting someone else's expectations. You begin to believe that love is not something you deserve naturally, but something you have to earn by sacrificing parts of yourself. And the more you adjust, the more the conditions expand. It's never just one change. Once you meet one demand, another takes its place, until little by little, the person you were becomes harder to recognize. Over time, you may feel like you're walking on a tightrope, constantly adjusting your behavior, your appearance, even your dreams, just to keep their affection alive. And when you slip, when you fail to meet one of the endless conditions, the affection is withdrawn. That withdrawal reinforces the idea that you're not lovable as you are, that love only comes when you mold yourself to fit their design. It's a cycle that can leave you exhausted, anxious, and questioning your own identity. What makes conditional love especially manipulative is that it disguises itself as motivation. He frames it as if he's just pushing you to be better. But the truth is he's pushing you to be different, to abandon pieces of yourself so that he can feel comfortable, secure, or in control. Love that requires transformation before it's given is not love, it's leverage. And leverage in a relationship always tips the balance of power in one direction, leaving one person constantly striving while the other stands still, setting the rules that keep the relationship tilted in their favor. When someone looks at you and says, do this or we're done, they aren't offering compromise, they're drawing a line in the sand meant to box you in. Ultimatums like this are not about resolving conflict or finding common ground, they are about power. They force you into a position where your choices are stripped down to obedience or abandonment. And while disagreements are normal in any relationship, healthy partners talk through differences. They don't use threats to secure control. An ultimatum turns love into a contract with harsh terms. Follow the rule or lose the relationship. It often begins with small demands. Maybe it's about how you dress, where you go, or who you talk to. He might say, if you wear that, we're done. Or if you keep seeing that friend, it's over. Each time, the message is clear. Your freedom comes at the cost of his approval. And what's worse is that he frames it as if you're the one risking the relationship, as if his demands are reasonable, and you're choosing to destroy the bond by not complying. That reversal of responsibility is what keeps you questioning yourself. Instead of asking why he's threatening the relationship over something small, you start asking if you should give in to keep the peace. The longer this pattern continues, the more it conditions you to believe that love is fragile, that it can collapse at any moment if you don't meet his expectations. Living under constant ultimatums creates anxiety because you never know when the next demand will come or what part of yourself you'll be asked to sacrifice. And with every compromise you make under pressure, you teach yourself that your needs matter less than his conditions. That cycle is exactly what ultimatums are designed to do, train you to comply out of fear of loss. What makes this kind of control even more damaging is that it creates an uneven relationship where one person dictates the terms while the other scrambles to keep up. It's not about love, it's about obedience. It's not about partnership, it's about submission. Real love doesn't say, do this or else. It says, let's work through this together. But when someone uses ultimatums, what they are showing is that they value their dominance more than the health of the relationship, and they are willing to use fear of abandonment as a weapon to maintain that dominance. At the end of the day, words are not just sounds. They're windows into how someone truly sees you, how they value you, and how they plan to treat you. When a man speaks with disrespect, with control, with threats, with conditions, he's not just talking, he's revealing his mindset. And a mindset like that doesn't magically transform into love, safety, or respect. It only grows stronger the longer you allow it. That's why leaving isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not running away, it's protecting yourself. Because the truth is, you never have to stay where you are belittled, controlled, or manipulated. You are not asking for too much when you expect kindness, respect, and honesty. You're asking for the bare minimum. And the moment you stop tolerating anything less, you open the door to the kind of love that doesn't threaten, doesn't condition, and doesn't disguise control as care. You deserve a relationship where you are valued as an equal, where your voice is heard, and where love feels safe.